Namaste. My name is Dr. Suhas Kshirssagar, and on behalf of Kerala Ayurveda Academy, I welcome all of you for this health education series. And what we are going to talk about today is some very simple Ayurvedic home remedies, which is a very simple concept and very benign looking concept, but it's very, very important. And there are two layers for this information that I want to share with you. Number one is that whether you have the right information to come up with some of these combinations and how it works and why it works. And the second layer of this information is whether you will have access to creating things which will create very, very simple interventions to some of the small, simple, challenging health situations that you have. We coin a term called as kitchen pharmacy. And kitchen pharmacy simply means that you should have almost a pharmaceutical grade intervention right from your kitchen. Whether it could be used, you can be using some spices, you could be using some simple food combinations, you could be avoiding adding certain things, you will be probably mixing different combinations of food to create almost a medical quality of combinations, which will have an impact on whatever imbalances that you are having. They could be healed or made better. The concept of Ayurvedic cooking revolves exactly around this concept of creating food which is of medicinal value, or creating food which has almost a therapeutic basis to it. Whether you are preparing kanji, whether you are preparing khichdi, whether you are preparing some lentil soups, when you combine all the different spices which have tremendous medicinal values, there's a lot of research which has been done on the quality of the spices and what they do to your physiology and the physiological functioning. I like to call them as spices for life. And it's an interesting concept, because whether you talk about ginger, whether you talk about turmeric, whether you talk about cumin, coriander, fennel, whether you talk about nutmeg, cardamom, rosemary, thyme, mint, garlic, these are all simple spices which have enormous medicinal benefits. And when we start adding these things in the right proportion, in the right formats to multiple different dishes, that food does attain a medicinal quality healing benefit to it. And that's exactly the purpose of what we're going to discuss today. We're going to share some very, very simple home remedies. Number one is some simple hot infusion. If at all you're creating infusions which are combinations of simple teas that you can do for balancing vata, balancing pitta, and balancing kapha. Vata is a person who is a little bit more lean and thin and has a degree of more restlessness and anxiety and tendency for worry, and you need to ground them, you need to calm their nerves. And in order to do that, what you do is you create a calming concoction which is called as a vata tea. And what you do is you combine a teaspoonful of fennel seeds, a teaspoonful of cumin and coriander seeds, combining with a little bit of freshly grated ginger in a quart of water, and you bring it to a boil and you let it steep for a few minutes, and you add some freshly squeezed lemon juice in there, and if you want you can add some sukha nut syrup or some raw cane sugar to that, which will make a little bit of a sweet and sour kind of a hot infusion. And when you drink it warm, when you sip it warm, it will slowly allow your vata to calm down. So it's a very, very simple recipe, which is a combination of cumin, coriander, and fennel seeds, a teaspoonful of each in a quart of water, with some freshly grated ginger, and you add some lemon juice and some sukha nut or maple syrup to that just as a sweetener. In order to balance pitta, which is a little bit heat, inflammation, and the quality of a little bit more restlessness, more activity, and the personality tends to get a little bit more snappy and angry and irritable. So we need to create something which is a bit more cooling. So in order to create a cooling impact, instead of creating a hot infusion, we'll create a cool infusion where we'll bring some water to boil, which is a quart of water, with some fennel and coriander seeds, which are spices which are more gentle and cooling in nature. And we can add some fresh mint leaves to this. We can squirt some lemon juice, just very faintly sour, and we can add some sucanut syrup to this. So we are adding fennel seeds, coriander seeds, some fresh mint leaves to this liquid. We bring it to a boil, then we store it at room temperature, and we'll be drinking it a little bit more cool so that it'll have a cooling and balancing effect on the imbalance of pitta as such. Kapha, which is a little bit more heavy and dull kind of a dosha, and you need to create more invigorating, stimulating concoction for kapha. So we'll be creating a hot infusion. What we'll be doing is we'll be taking about a quart of water, we'll be mixing it with cumin seeds and coriander seeds as the base. We'll be adding some cinnamon or licorice to this concoction. We'll add some fresh basil leaves, and we'll be adding some lemon juice. And we'll be making a concoction of cumin, coriander seeds, cinnamon or licorice, and we'll be adding some fresh basil leaves and lemon juice. So here the licorice itself is having a little bit of a sweetener like effect, and so we don't have to add any other sweetener. Sometimes we always tell people to add a little bit of honey to the kapha hot infusion they are drinking, but we do not add honey when it is boiling. But in general, the kapha tea which will have a more energizing and more lively effect, so that it will stimulate all your nervous system and would energize you. So we can make these simple herbal teas. I like to call them as medicinal waters or healing waters, because these healing waters and the liquid quality of the water which transport these nutrients, especially the spices and the energy of these spices, are very quickly absorbed into your bloodstream, and they carry everywhere very, very quickly. Many times it is absorbed within your mouth when you are sipping this hot or cool concoctions, and that's the reason why these liquid nutritionals, which will get mixed with all the juices and the fountains of all the waters in the body, and will have much more quicker healing impact. So all the combinations of different herbal teas is a very typical Ayurvedic concept, and it is one of the Panchavit Kashaya Kalpana is what we call it. There's a branch in Ayurvedic medicine called it Bhaishajya Kalpana, and they talk elaborately about all the different hot and cold infusions and freshly squeezed juices. So the teas are the part of what we call it as Fanta and Hima. I would like to share a few other simple tips for one of the common concerns that we see of hyperacidity. I see quite a few people who complain of heartburn and hyperacidity. One of the simplest remedy for that is drinking few ounces of pomegranate juice. Pomegranate juice is a great simple combination which is cooling, which is bitter, which is slightly sour and astringent, and that astringent quality has a very good pitta regulating effect, so it neutralizes the acidity and hyperacidity. What you can also do is you can drink a cup of cool milk. You always bring the milk to a boil and let it cool down. You can drink a cup of cool milk with a teaspoonful of organic rose water, and you can add 1 to 2 pinches of cardamom powder to this, and you can drink it warm, drink it cool, slightly cooler than the room temperature itself. So a cup of milk with a teaspoonful of rose water and 1 to 2 pinches of cardamom powder is very good for neutralizing the acidity itself. When the other side of this hyperacidity or high pitta is many times people have low agni. They don't have enough digestive fire, and one of the best remedy what Ayurveda uses for stoking your digestive fire or stimulating your appetite would be a freshly grated ginger with a pinch of rock salt or Himalayan salt and some lemon juice. So you grate some fresh ginger, you squirt a little bit of rock salt or Himalayan salt on that and squirt some lemon juice, and have that about half a teaspoonful about 5, 10, 15 minutes right before you have your lunch or dinner, and it has a great appetite stimulating effect. Ginger is considered to be one of the best simple remedy for kindling your digestive fire as well as digesting ama, which are some residual impurities of digestion. Ginger is called as Vishwa Bheshaj. Vishwa means the whole world or the universe, and Bheshaj means medicine. So it is considered to be a universal medicine which could be used. We can also use the same cumin, coriander, fennel decoction combined with lemon juice and ginger and drink this along with your meals, which is also very good for stimulating your appetite and stimulating your digestion. So all the different spices have a great impact on regulating the digestive fire and rekindling your digestive fire itself. Another common complaint that we hear is of constipation, that people do not have good, effective bowel movements on an everyday basis. Sometimes the stools are dry, hard, and they don't happen every day. It happens every other day. And the best way to do that is to increase the oleation. So you need to increase the quality of the oils in your diet. And you want to take some good quality cold pressed sesame oil or cold pressed flax oil or cold pressed extra virgin olive oil in your diet. So if you increase the oleation where you're not adding those oils into into a stir-fried or a deep-fried manner, but you are ingesting them in a raw way. Many times we advise people to drink a cup of warm water with a teaspoonful of olive oil or sesame oil, and you drink this first thing in the morning, empty stomach. So slowly it has an impact on lubricating the whole gut, and it will regularize this tendency for having dry and hard stools. The two fruits which I enjoy and recommend people to consume on a regular basis for those people who suffer from constipation is figs and prunes. So you can take dry figs or dry prunes and you can soak them overnight, and next day morning you can eat those figs and prunes and drink that water. And when you soak 3 figs and 3 prunes in maybe a cup of warm water or something like that, and next day morning you drink that, it will regularize the function of your bowel movements as such. Another simple remedy is a combination of yogurt, whole milk organic yogurt. Combined, you can take about 3 tablespoons of whole milk organic yogurt combined with about half a teaspoon of honey, which is raw unheated honey, and combine that with a tablespoon of psyllium husk. So you can combine psyllium husk, a tablespoon, with 3 tablespoons of yogurt and a little bit of honey. You make a paste of it and you eat that as a dessert. It's a very delicious combination. You can have that before you sleep in the night, and that will also have a great impact on softening and creating a little bit of a bulk promoting effect on your stools as such. You can also take aloe vera gel, which is about 1 to 2 tablespoons of aloe vera gel you can consume right before you sleep. Or you can take about half a cup of aloe vera juice. A good quality organic aloe vera juice is also very effective, which is a great tonic for your liver. It's a great tonic for regulating the heat and getting rid of the dryness into the gut as such. Castor oil, and this is also one of my favorite simple remedies. It's an old grandma remedy, we call it, but it's a very, very effective. Even this country, Edgar Casey has talked a lot about the quality of castor oil, and so you can take about a tablespoon of castor oil in some warm water in the night, and it also helps to break the blockages and purge out the impurities. Gases and bloating is a common complaint that we hear quite a bit. And one of the simple remedy for alleviating gases and bloating would be chewing toasted or roasted fennel seeds. You can dry roast some fennel seeds and you can chew those right after your meals. You can combine a tablespoon of fennel seeds with some black pepper and chopped mint leaves and mix together into a blender, and have a teaspoonful of this powder with some warm water right after your meals as such. We sometimes advise rubbing a little bit of castor oil in your navel, which also relieves this tendency for feeling distended and bloated. Diarrhea is also a common complaint, and one of the commonest remedy is taking about freshly chopped organic apples with sprinkled nutmeg powder on that. So the pectins in apple as well as nutmeg powder, which is a great spice to have a binding effect and have an astringent quality to stop the diarrhea, is also very good. So these were some very simple examples that we talk about how we can use variety of different spices, variety of different fresh leaves and everything, where we are making some freshly squeezed juices, we are using the right kind of spices, whether it is fresh, whether it is seeds, where we are making any hot infusions or cold infusions, or we are creating a situation where we are looking the right way of Ayurvedic cooking, which will actually have a greater impact on balancing our health and balancing our doshas. Thank you.